I'm here going east, passing Smedley Street while on Spruce. This is Spruce Street here. This is Smedley. That home over there has the word beach etched in it with parentheses. It's within parentheses. It's all lowercase letters. This is the 300 South block of Smedley. And that's quite a show on that street, so they're good at orchestrating and organizing and putting on quite a show at the Ritz, I guess. I don't know what the whole so some people grow up in certain types of communities, I guess, and it's more planned and organized and orchestrated. It's hard to explain. It would be like going to the Mummers Parade and everybody's right on time and marching out in order. So anyway, that's kind of what I was told to say, but I've walked a dog on that street and wow, it's the amount of times I encountered an actual show, like people coming out on purpose to put on they actually put on skits and scenarios and stuff like that. It's uncool if you're like the target of it, because say there are types of people like, maybe they would be mocking like the mafia, and the mafia would surround or swarm certain people who they deemed enemy families or what have you, and say you were among a group that was attacked, and that's kind of how I felt at times. I didn't know but they provoke people with nuance and innuendo and like a certain type of attitude and stuff like that. So then you would be provoked into like flipping out, and then you look like an aggressor when really you're not. This van pulling out while this lady was walking across, restore core. So they try to knock people over and take over, and they'll restore your core, all right. Ends well, all's well that ends well without a D. So whatever D represents to you. You thought I'd go that way. Okay. So here's a big 18-wheeler at the terrain. Robe Sonia Logistics. Robe Sonia Logistics. So chariots of fire at some unimpressive buildings like the Drake. So a lot of these buildings have been around here for eons, and you never know how people wind up in certain buildings. Sometimes it comes down to actual family connections. Technically, you have to be making enough money to pay rent, obviously, and that's true anywhere you live. I'm surprised how many ghetto places charge exorbitant rent when you could have better for less rent. Big gigantic airplane flying over the Atlantic. You can't see it through here, but this viewfinder puts things off in the distance. But in person, sometimes I'm weirded out because I'm like, hey, it looks a lot lower than. I remember when I first moved here, I didn't think the flying ceiling clearance or whatever was that low, but I'll keep going east. Exactly what we need right now is some sort of a whole hot list of shows and theater shows, whatever, going on at the Kimmel Center, so they could tell their own story. We've had Beetlejuice here before Beetlejuice came out for the second time as the second renewed version or whatever with Michael Keaton, the same people, Winona Ryder and so forth and so on. They even had Margaritaville, License to Chill, and that theater group came out like 3 months before Jimmy Buffett died. So cue your taste buds, so License to Chill on ice. That's always, I was like, I can't believe that they had a play here, called Margaritaville in honor and tribute of Jimmy Buffett before he died, and like 3 months later he turns up dead, last year, like August or September. And it's like License to Chill on ice. So we have black and white cars in front of the Atlantic today. So 2 black, 1 white, a black from California, and then a silver with black top, and here's a black Yukon. White Jeep Cherokee, a black Audi, and a black Mercedes. And this is an Audi too, the California one. And she just has like a silver one, so. little breeze here as we approach Broad Street, which is also the number 14. If this street were numbered, it would be 14. But it's mostly called Broad. Also, they have Patti LaBelle Way in this section. There are a couple sections. They also have Gamble and Huff further south by Broad and the Symphony House down there. So Gamble and Huff is another block down. This is, oh, it says Gamble and Huff Way here, and Patti LaBelle over there by the Tony Awards. So, to New York, my mom's, there used to be like a comedy guy who used to show up, or some sort of thing where my mom worked. They had like events, maybe around the holidays or whatever, and a guy always had this joke about immigration of Italians to New York back in, the early days of America, burgeoning and stuff like that. And the joke actually was, how did they get the name Tony? And it's to New York. Like, it's just, they kind of joke like, oh, they got a stamp on their head to New York and it spells Tony. So anyway, that's supposed to be a joke, an age-old one, about Italians immigrating and coming through Ellis Island and getting the to New York stamp. I wonder if they actually are going to name my kid Tony because we got to come over to America and start the stereotypical pizza joint, right? Italian restaurant or what have you. So I'm still walking east on Spruce Street. The bike lanes have been flipped, so technically there's a bike lane here on the south side of the street heading west. They flipped the bike lanes around 2018-ish or so. They started to flip them, 1920. So it can feel a little weird because most of us are used to always being on the right-hand side with anything with wheels, like bikes, skateboards, whatever, cars. But some see it as reverse the curse, because bike lanes were just put in around 2009-10ish. That's when they first came in, because cabs used to hog there would be 2 lanes here and drivers could drive all over the place. All of a sudden the bike lanes came in and cab drivers were like, I can't, I'm wondering, how did they manage that? Because there used to be so much more. Then we got Uber and Lyft drivers. White deer over here. I used to come to Jay's Deli. I used to live up there next to the Lenox. That's the Lenox, and I used to live in, it would be like a townhome or row home converted to apartments. That's like most of these down here. And technically they were owned by Chancellor Properties. And then they went condo. So I lived in 2 locations that went condo. And in a way, condo developers were pushing people out of their apartment dwellings. Those people may or may not be in a position to buy. Like where I lived the first time, they offered the option to buy. And I didn't think I was in a position to buy. Today, it's like technically I would have been, because even though I went contract